Ever since it was announced that they're making a sequel to the standalone Joker movie starring Joaquin Phoenix, I've had a bad feeling about it, and now that I've seen Joker 2, Folie A Doo, I can't say that my opinion has changed. I mean, even the first Joker movie with Phoenix, while interesting and different, wasn't really something I needed more of, and since it ended in a satisfying way, and with no plans to connect it to any future Batman movies, it was perfectly fine as a one-off. And I suspect that director Todd Phillips had initially felt the same way, but then the movie made over $1 billion at the worldwide box office and won Academy Awards, so there was no way that Warner Brothers wasn't going to demand a follow-up, and obviously, they were willing to pay a lot of money for it too. While the first Joker movie cost about $65 million to produce, Warner Brothers were now looking to spend $200 million for a second installment. And however Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix had initially felt about a Joker sequel, I assume that they were both offered such a significant salary increase for it that they just weren't able to refuse. The only problem is, once they signed up for Joker 2, it seems like they weren't quite sure what to do with it creatively. I strongly suspect that just to get Joaquin Phoenix on board, Phillips likely sold him on the idea that Joker 2 would be something completely different than the first one, that it would have true artistic merit, that they could bring in Lady Gaga, and Phoenix would even sing some tunes with her. After all, Phoenix seemed to enjoy singing years ago when he played Johnny Cash and Walk the Line, so perhaps this is what sealed the deal. And since it seemed natural to want to include a Harley Quinn character here, I can sort of see how they ended up thinking that Lady Gaga would be good for the role. While she doesn't have the type of physical appeal that Margot Robbie has, within this quirkier version of the Joker, she wasn't the worst casting choice, and I really had no issue with it. The only problem is that while Lady Gaga has talent and she really does know how to sing, it doesn't necessarily mean that she has to sing in every movie that she's in. Yes, it was fine in A Star Is Born because that is literally a movie about singers, but the first Joker movie wasn't about that at all, so why would the second one be? And also, to be honest, I don't really need to hear Joaquin Phoenix singing every second either. While I think his singing was alright in Walk the Line, I don't think that I needed to see him do more of it, let alone in a Joker movie as the Joker character. Now, if you would have told me that in an otherwise well-written movie there was a dream sequence of sorts and they incorporated the fact that they could sing for some segment, maybe I could have been okay with it. But the more I saw the marketing and the trailers for this, the more I got the feeling that they're really leaning in on this musical aspect here, which for me makes the movie somewhat of a bait and switch. The first Joker movie was a sort of homage to Martin Scorsese's classic movies Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, only with the Joker character, and for whatever it aimed to be, I think it was certainly good enough because it was different, unexpected, offbeat, and interesting. Now honestly, I felt that the ending in that movie was good enough that it really just didn't need a sequel at all, but if you already insist on doing one, I think a good idea would have been to organically continue the story from the first movie using a similar cinematic tone within this version of the Joker in Gotham City that has already been established. Unfortunately, what we ended up getting was not even a full screenplay, but rather one act of a film littered with a bunch of filler songs and slow and unnecessary scenes that mainly annoy you. It's a movie that probably sounded good to Todd Phillips on paper, but when it came time to making it, he made a real mess of it, which is why it completely falls flat. When it comes to respecting your existing viewers, or as I like to call them, your paying customers, Joker 2 is also unfair to the people who enjoyed the first movie and just wanted to see a legitimate continuation to it with the same genre intact. I mean, a musical is really its own very specific genre, and if the first installment of a movie wasn't a musical, there's really no reason for the second one to be. And by the way, this also works the other way around. For example, if you saw the movie Mamma Mia and you enjoyed seeing people sing cheesy ABBA songs to each other, you'd expect Mamma Mia 2 to also feature the same people singing cheesy ABBA songs. Again, right? And if you went to Mamma Mia 2 and instead of singing they were just talking the whole time, that would also be considered a bait and switch, right? Now don't get me wrong, I would never watch Mamma Mia or its sequel because I'm a dude, but it does at least prove my point. Now, I'm not saying that a movie can't introduce different creative ideas in a sequel, even from a different genre, but when the DNA of an established cinematic world is altered so drastically, it ends up losing its identity, and what we see in Joker Folie A Doo is just too big of a derailment. As far as the story goes, this movie barely adds anything worthwhile to what we've seen in the first movie, and the funny thing is I can barely even describe a plot here because there almost isn't one. Whatever you've seen in trailers is pretty much the entire movie. Joker is in Arkham State Hospital awaiting his murder trial where he meets and falls in love with Harley Quinn. Joker then sits in a courtroom for most of the movie, fantasizing about singing songs with Harley about every 5 minutes, and by the end of the movie, he pretty much fucks off. Oh, and during the movie, people seem to get the best of him all of the time, including Harley Quinn, who between tedious musical numbers is also annoying as And just a reminder, Todd Phillips didn't create the Joker character himself, so making him such a beta male simp in his own movie is rather irritating, not to mention that even in the previous Joker movie by the end of it, he seemed more confident and sinister, but in this one, he just seems to regress and is almost always presented as a wimpy loser. So if you're planning to see this movie for the Joker, be prepared to see him outshined by Lady Boss Gaga and pretty much everybody else. And you know, not to spoil the ending here, but let's just say that the movie also ends in a downer way that really doesn't justify this movie's existence. Just a final middle finger to pretty much anybody that paid money for a ticket after enjoying the first movie. And it's not like the first Joker movie was necessarily perfect, but it was good for whatever it was. This second movie is nowhere near that though. While I like Joaquin Phoenix in the Joker role, and I think he's a really good actor, he just doesn't have enough to work with here this time around. His performance is still good as he continues to bring a lot of intensity to the role, but in spite of his best efforts, he just can't save this movie, which is a shame because you can tell how much work he puts into his performance here, and there are some isolated scenes that show the potential of what could have been. But with all of that being said, even Joaquin Phoenix's performance here still doesn't justify the existence of the movie or make the screenplay interesting enough, because at least 2/3 of it can simply be deleted and it would probably improve the movie. Now, I'm not hating on Todd Phillips for accepting a hefty paycheck, but he surely could have come up with something better than this. Yes, the cinematography, the acting, the directing, the music, it's all fine, but the foundation of the movie here is extremely weak, especially when it comes to the storytelling. And there's this annoying feeling that Phillips somehow tried to con people into thinking that this was artsy, when in fact it was just annoying. I suppose that he kind of did that in the first movie too, but at least there he was doing his best Martin Scorsese impression, which is better than nothing. Here he was doing Moulin Rouge or something, and I didn't prefer it at all. Therefore, when it comes to scoring, if anything below 60 out of 100 is a fail, I would give this movie a 45 out of 100. And even that is rather generous, but most of those points are going to Phoenix for his performance, which still doesn't keep this movie from sucking. In comparison, I would give the first Joker movie an 80 out of 100, which means that this one is a significant dip in quality. The only thing I can be thankful for after seeing Joker 2 is that I really couldn't imagine how they would even attempt to make another sequel after this one, so that's something of a silver lining. I also suspect that this one is not going to make as much as the previous one. And if you want my honest opinion, I would even go further and say that if you enjoyed the first movie and you really just want to stay with that enjoyment, I don't think you'll benefit from watching Joker 2. Even if you do want to watch it, I think that this is at best a streaming movie, and even then, you'll probably fall asleep in the middle. Anyhow, just wanted to give you my thoughts about this movie because I saw an early screening of it, and if you enjoy getting these type of exclusive, early and honest movie reviews, please make sure to like and subscribe. And for those of you who have been watching my videos for a while now, I will continue to work hard to earn your ongoing support. Thank you for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. But